Doing good. Yourself?
Well,
Good.
give me 1 second here and we get set up. All right, looks like we have everybody here on administration side. We might have a couple people joining in. Gary, you have everybody that you need on your side to get going?
Yes, we're good to go.
Okay. I shared with you an email yesterday. I know you responded back, so you were able to receive that. I don't know if you've been able to share it with your team yet.
Yes, I did.
Let me start there. And just for the record, I know we're recording, but for the record, this is April 1st, 2022 collective bargaining negotiation session, public meeting between Pasco Hernando State College and the United Faculty of Florida. I also did, for the record, I received your earlier email from a little earlier this week, basically advising that we want to try and focus on trying to work out through the salary issues as opposed to the MOU on department chairs and program directors. So with that said, unless you have something else to start with, I think I can share my screen and put what I sent to you by email up so everybody else can see it.
Yeah, we're good. Go ahead.
Okay, hopefully you can see the proposed MOU on your screen in front of you. Can you see that?
Yes, I see it.
So here's what we're proposing. We've went back and we've analyzed the union's proposal and had some discussion in-house with it. We are proposing entering into an MOU for this is for the current academic year, 21-22 academic year, that is. And what we've landed on is to propose an across the board increase of 5%. Effective as of July 24, 2021, which I understand is the first pay period for faculty for this current year. Anybody who was employed for this current year then will get that across the board increase, and we will, as you can see there in the second paragraph, section 1, we will make it retroactive back to that July 24th pay period or to a higher date if somebody was hired subsequent to that. And of course, you'd have to remain employed, the college, through the ratification of this to receive that payment. Obviously, as you can see in section 2, we're not proposing anything as of yet for this coming academic year. We had some discussion, I know our last, that we want to discuss that. We're continuing to analyze that. And so we're not ruling that out with this. What we're trying to kind of get this one done, taken care of, and then continue to look at what do we do, if anything, for the next academic year. As you know, we've received, we've seen the budget released by the state. I don't think, and I haven't looked at it in the last day or so, but I don't think the governor signed that yet. So there's still possibility that could change, but we're analyzing that right now for the determination of what to do for next year. And we can continue to negotiate that. So that's section 2 just says that that's subject to negotiation, as would anything in the future be subject to negotiation. Proposing this as an MOU so we can get it done now, and recognizing that we're still in limbo with there is technically no collective bargaining agreement in place yet. But if we can get an agreement on this year, we do an MOU, take it to our respective parties, get it ratified, hopefully, and then pay it out. Was there any questions on our proposal?
Yeah, my main question deals with part of our proposal was a salary schedule, and I don't see that you even address that. We do appreciate the 5% offer, and we'll discuss that. But I would like to know why we're not even talking about a salary schedule. And it's my understanding that the staff, when they were given their raise, a salary schedule was included in it, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's my question that I'd like addressed, is why we're not dealing with a salary schedule yet.
Yeah, let me give you my understanding there, and I'll invite Darrell or Brian Horn to chime in as necessary too. But what we're not necessarily ruling all that stuff out. We're thinking that to get this done, that those discussions are better left for purposes of the coming academic year. We went through, that's what we've been studying, looking at it, and it became a little bit where we need more information. We need to study it further, quite frankly, and we didn't want to put off the current year while we were continuing to study and crunch numbers, looking at the budget and whatnot. So that's why we kind of broke it up into two parts. First part is let's deal with this year. And ultimately we decided that 5% makes it easy. It kind of is equivalent to what we've done for the non-unit folks. And then beyond that, those are discussions we think that we're going to have to, one, do a little bit more research, but also two, want to take a little bit more time to negotiate through the specifics of that, and didn't see a need to hold up this part of it while we did that, if that makes sense. Darrell, Brian, is anything you want to add or anything you want to correct if I'm inaccurate in that regard?
That is accurate, Brian. Is just really to get to try to get this processed along with all the other employees. We did receive the information that was provided, I believe, at our last meeting regarding some information used for K-12 and the governor's proposal to bump K-12 salaries up to a base amount. However, that is still a working model, and I bounced that idea off of many institutions. So it's kind of like all over the place, and there are some other some other variables that were not taken into consideration in just providing that salary amount. So to me, I think that it would be a longer discussion that obviously we can have, but that we'll obviously have to negotiate on. But just trying to figure out like how can we get all of this, how can we get the ball rolling basically and push this through is a little bit easier, for us to look at the compressions due to $15 an hour, because that is the law currently, that is not pending or anything of that nature. So the classification plan update was more due to compression issues in that regard. Whereas for faculty members, that there are some discussions that we have to have across the board when you start looking at a base pay compared to everything else. So just some other factors to consider and obviously negotiate on.
And again, Brian, I think, the timing, like you said, if they can approve and ratify the 5%, we can take that to the April board, get that approved, so then we can line that up with getting them the increases and then setting up the retroactive pay back to the beginning of the year, their start date, so we can get all that in line and get that taken care of fairly quickly here.
So that's basically what we're doing, why we broken that up into those two steps. Anything else, Gary, or anybody else?
Well, I guess I'm wanting some clarification, maybe from myself, but other members as well. Darrell had a meeting with Caitlin a while back, and so there has been discussion about the salary schedule for a while. And I guess my greatest fear, and this may be my personal opinion, but my greatest fear is that how long are we going to kick this can down the road? Because there has been some discussions about this for a while, yet we're still not prepared to do that. And so you're offering, you take this raise now, and we'll talk about salary schedules down the road. And I guess I would like at least some time frame from the administration if we're talking about really seriously looking at a salary schedule when our negotiations for next year. Or is this, well, we haven't gotten around to it, push it back. And so that's my concern with this.
Yeah, I would say that it's definitely not a matter of, like, hey, here's what we're offering and take it, or anything of that nature. It really is making sure that, since we are doing this for non-bargaining members, to make sure that, we're not leaving our faculty behind. So that's really the approach that we're we're looking at. We don't want to do that. We've never done that, to my knowledge, as an institution where we've done for one group of employees. So hopefully that's not taken out of context in that regard of, like, here's what the offer is. However, it is a bit challenging, similar to us making corrections to the classification plan. We can't arbitrarily do that for the faculty members because we have to come to the negotiating table for that. So it's a little bit, obviously it creates a timing issue. And then, if you are making drastic changes and things of that nature, there's a lot of work that has to go into it on my end to set it up in the system so that it conforms to all of these newer changes. So, really just trying to make sure that we can get these things processed timely more than anything else and not leave behind our faculty members. And then obviously still making sure that we negotiate for the next year. We're just addressing 1 year right now because, that's what we're working on with right now. So.
And we are in the beginning phases of the planning for the next fiscal year with the final budget going to the board in June that I present. So, I mean, I'd let Dr. Jeanette jump in, but I mean, we don't want to drag things out. I would love it if we could have that part even resolved for the budget in June, if not definitely before we even start the fall. So we have everything in place, but again, we don't want to rush something and not evaluate things properly. The same way we did with the salary schedule for the staff and administration. We took a long time to keep evaluating and reevaluating what was equitable and what would be sustainable long-term.
And to that point as well, to Brian's idea about, from a timing standpoint, it is different for faculty members. So we do have to keep that in mind, given the fact that all other employees are, permanent full-time, part-time employees on year-round contracts. And our faculty members, because you guys are broken out over 26 pays, your contract actually spills over a little bit into the next fiscal year, even though you're not on a newer contract until I believe it's the 8/11 pay this year, this upcoming fiscal year. Or academic year, should I say. That's probably a better term to use. So it is a little bit different, whereas for all year-round employees, you're kind of up against the wire, whereas with faculty, you have a little bit more of a window, a few more pays added on after the fact to consider. So, but at the end of the day, you do want to make sure you do it all together. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't want to have to go in and process one group of employees, then another group of employees, because it's very intensive in a new system. But if it comes to that, obviously we'll do what we have to do to make sure that all of our employees are taken care of.
Gentlemen, I have nothing further to add. You have articulated our position well. Thank you.
I'm going to ask if anybody on my team has any questions before we go any further.
I'm okay with the caucus.
I am too.
Okay. Brian, can we maybe, since your proposal is pretty straightforward, can we caucus for about 15 minutes? And if we need a little more time, I can let you know, but I think 15 minutes should be sufficient.
Yeah, that's fine. It's 1:15 now. We'll plan on coming back at 1:30. I'll watch my email. So just
Okay.
For the administration side, why don't we get on the caucus and kick it around further?
And to those faculty members, Caitlin sent out a caucus room address, so go to that and we'll be there in just a minute. Thank you, Brian. We'll see you in a few minutes.
All right.
And all faculty are welcome in the caucus room, just to be clear.
Yes.
And it's in your personal and your school email.